morning and welcome to Recipe for Success. As I mentioned, the writer's strike is over. I was just honoring their wishes by not writing my own podcast. Just kidding. A lot of stuff had gotten in the way. But anyway, I'm back this week with a bang. Today, a solo episode talking about using your voice for good. What's the good news? I think there is so much going on right now in the world and particularly in our industry where we hear all the bad all the time. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some of the good things. But before we get to that, I did want to remind you that I do have another podcast scheduled for this Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My guest is going to be Bradley Perry, and we're going to be talking about sudden cardiac arrest. This is Sudden Cardiac Arrest Awareness Month, so he is the perfect person to talk about it. So let's kick it off with a few pieces of good news, and then I'm going to address a couple of other things. Number one, I'm in the Seattle area, so the Seahawks won last night. It was a very exciting day for me. That's odd. It looks like the timer just actually kicked on this. So if you joined me and I've been talking to myself, I have a feeling I may have been. Not sure what happened there. But anyway, that was the first bit of good news for me, is that our local football team won, and it was a decisive win. We really needed it. But one of the other reasons that I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit was that due to the fact that there seems to be so much negativity in the healthcare industry. Everybody is pointing fingers at each other and trying to throw each other under the bus. And there's a lot of problems in this industry. So I'm not trying to diminish that. But what I'm thinking about, and what I think is important that we all start to think about, is how can we say things? How can we use our voices for good? If we want to see a particular outcome, how can we address the problems without tearing others down? As many of you know, I'm a broker or consultant, and the majority of my business is in the small group market. And there's a lot of talk, rightfully so, about broker compensation and transparency. We were thrilled when that rule came around because we'd been disclosing our compensation for years. However, the thing to note is we don't actually have a lot of control over it. That compensation is dictated by the insurance carriers in most cases for clients with 50 or fewer employees. There's exceptions, but that is the general rule. And then over 50, we have a lot more control and a lot more ability to negotiate. The other thing that is very area specific is when we get our renewals. I saw a post the other day that said, if you don't have your January renewal, you need to find another broker. We don't have your January renewals yet. We got a few of them in yesterday, but the bulk of them we don't have. We only got some of our December renewals in last week. And if we don't have it, we can't give it to you as much as we would want to. It doesn't help us to get them out to you later. The suggestion was that your broker is holding those renewals so that you would have less time to make a decision or to shop it out. I don't think that's the general intention or intent of most consultants. I think most consultants really and truly are trying to do the right thing for you. And as soon as they have it, they're going to let you know what it is. You're going to talk about how you want to proceed moving forward, putting together options, etc. Okay, so we're going to go down the list of a few other see, somebody just said, just received a January 1, 50 to 99 renewal for a group that I've been regularly following up for weeks. We had to push to get it through. Same with us. Somebody else said, definitely not holding renewals. So I don't think in most cases, if you don't have it yet, it's simply because your broker doesn't have it. Now, there's no reason that you can't call them and say, or email them or text them or whatever your method of communication is and say, hey, do you have it yet? When do you expect it? I try to communicate that regularly with my clients because some programs just come in later than others. So again, I think we just need to take into consideration that everything in our industry is very size and location specific. So what happens in the northwest corner of the United States up here in the Puget Sound around Seattle is going to be very different than what happens in Texas, what happens in Chicago or what happens in New York. It just is. There's different rules, there's different regulations, and so we have to abide by those. Going along those lines, we talk a lot about healthcare providers. It's probably a bad term that we've adopted for ourselves. And I mean, I find myself using it quite a bit. But what we're referring to is physicians, hospitals, physical therapists, the people that actually perform the healthcare. I still been trying to think about what better term I can use there. But we tend to throw them under the bus sometimes as well because they don't have the time. They're zipping you through the appointment process. We tend to shoot darts at the insurance companies because they're just trying to hoard all of the money. We're shooting darts at other brokers. We are constantly trying to rip apart pharmacy benefit managers. There are problems in every single one of those areas. I am not denying or overlooking that. But what I'm suggesting is that we start to think about how can we proactively and cooperatively address problems in a way that doesn't tear people down. What's the old saying? I'm old enough to remember it. I think it's you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. The point being, if you try to approach a problem with a collaborative or cooperative mindset, you're generally going to get better results. A month or so ago, I gave a talk at the Health Rosetta Summit, and it was called this, Using Your Voice for Good. It was focused a little bit differently, and it was talking about, have you ever felt like people didn't hear your voice, or that things other people had said had held you back? And so I actually pulled it up because I wanted to look at some of these comments that I had written to myself and bring them to the forefront. One of them is, without judging yourself too strongly, have you ever made an offhanded comment that might have caused someone to doubt themselves or stall their career path? And the reason I bring that question up is we can hurt people by not using our words, our voices correctly. Okay. Oh, here's we go. Physician or clinician is better than provider. I like that. I feel administrator gave us that title as a cost center for their P&L. I was also called an ancillary. Again, see, I want suggestions because I know it's not the right term, and I know it's somewhat demeaning, honestly, because that's not their job. They're not just doling out a unit of care. They're trying to take care of you as a person. So I'm going to keep working on that one. But thank you, Mark, for that suggestion. I like it a lot. But going back to that other comment, we can hurt people. We can hurt their careers. We can hurt their emotions. We can hurt their mental health if we're not careful with our words. Now, I will tell you this. I am somewhat of a ruthless negotiator. When I am fighting for a position, when I am fighting for a client, I am going to bring the full force of my will to that negotiation. However, that's different than calling somebody out on social media unless there's a very, very specific reason for it. I don't think for the most part, you're helping anything. Yes, I'll try to use clinician because it includes physicians, PAs. I love it. Okay, see, so we've just solved a problem right here on this call. We are going to start referring to this segment of the healthcare industry as clinicians. I think it provides more respect, and I think it puts them at a level that they deserve to be at. So let's go back to the hospitals. We know the prices are crazy. We know that there are tools out there that can help us look at the different pricing. This is a systemic problem, and it's not with the hospital. It's not with the insurance company. It's not with the pharmacy benefit manager. It's not with the clinicians. It's not with the consultants. It's pervasive into the whole system. And so there are a lot of people in this space that are doing really good work, and they're trying to basically tear it apart and put it back together again. I always love the analogy of the Mr. Potato Head. You can do a lot of things, but it's not going to look correct, and it's not going to function correctly unless we have the right parts in the right places. So that's one of the things that I would love to see us focusing on more, is looking from a holistic standpoint of how we address this. A lot of our solutions are band-aids. We know it, but it's all we have right now. So we need to keep looking and working towards the long term. So again, I just really want to say, let's stop tearing each other down. Let's start building each other up, and let's work together toward a common goal of providing more affordable, more accessible healthcare to more people and more employers. That was my whole message for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for a couple of people that decided to join me. This was an important topic, and I was inspired by a conversation that I was in yesterday that I wanted to get on and say something about it. So I hope you join me on Thursday, and I will be seeing you more. Let's see, we have one more comment. Clinicians, that's what we use with our collectives. Clinicians for doctors and clinical partners seems to work well so far. Again, I love it. We now have a consensus that clinician is a much better and more respectful term. So thanks, everybody, and hope to see you on Thursday.